Do you remember the feeling? The absolute, undeniable electricity in the air. The feeling that every single game was a must-see, historic event that you had to witness with your own eyes. Just 2 years ago, when Caitlin Clark stepped onto the hardwood at Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, there were 19,000 screaming fans packing that building to the absolute rafters. It was a golden era for women's basketball. The business of the league was booming like never before. Merchandise was flying off the shelves faster than Fanatics could print it, and the cash flow for the owners was completely unstoppable. Every road game was a home game. Every arena was a sellout. But today, we are looking at a very different and, quite frankly, terrifying reality. A reality that should have every single team owner in the WNBA sitting up in their luxury suites in a cold sweat. Welcome back to WNBA Pro. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a massive, league-altering problem that the front offices are desperately trying to sweep under the rug. The fans are angry. The trust is completely shattered. And what is happening right now with the ticket sales for the Indiana Fever versus the Los Angeles Sparks is just the tip of a very dangerous financial iceberg.
Injuries. Rumor has it, don't blink now, but there are no reported injuries. Allegedly, we're heading into this game with a full...
Let us start with the breaking news that is causing shockwaves through the fan base. And for all the wrong reasons. For the first time since early last year, the Indiana Fever front office has submitted a completely clean injury report. You heard that right, 0 reported injuries. The entire roster is allegedly 100% healthy and ready to go. On paper, this should be a moment of massive celebration. Fans should be flooding the ticket sites, rushing to buy seats to see their fully loaded team. But what is the actual reaction from the Fever fan base? Absolute, chilling silence, or worse, complete and utter disbelief. Caitlin Clark fans do not trust a single word coming out of head coach Stephanie White's mouth, or anyone in the Indiana Fever franchise for that matter. And honestly, looking at the track record, can you blame them? The wounds from last season's catastrophic mismanagement are still wide open.
Minutes restriction, everybody. Is Caitlin Clark going to be on minute restriction with this ghost back issue? That's not a ghost back issue, but it's just realignment. Is Monique Billings going to come back and be fully thrown into the lineup, or are we going to put her on minutes restriction? Is Aaliyah Boston still going to sit the fourth quarter, or is she still on minutes restriction? Is Lexi Hull or...
Fans feel like they were systematically lied to for months. Remember the daily drama surrounding Caitlin Clark's so-called injuries? The ghost back issues that were suddenly rebranded as just an alignment problem? Remember the national television broadcast where she had to leave the bench twice to go to the locker room? Now, the fan base is looking at this pristine, clean injury report and asking the hard, cynical questions. Is Caitlin going to be placed on a secret, unannounced minutes restriction? Is Monique Billings going to be fully integrated into the lineup, or is she going to be heavily restricted on the court? Is Aaliyah Boston going to mysteriously sit out the entire fourth quarter again while the game is on the line?
On the Fever injury report, it's been 2 years since I've seen them say no injuries. Me still living through the PTSD of last season. I feel like I should frame this. Are you sure you're sure? It's been a while. So no minute restrictions on AB, Lexi Hull, CC, and Monique Billings. Will a game be worth tuning in? Okay then.
The fans are simply not buying it anymore. We are seeing comments flooding in across every social media platform from people who have severe PTSD from last year's front office manipulation. They remember the games they paid hundreds of dollars to attend, only to watch their favorite players sit on the bench in street clothes. Remember what the organization did with Chloe Bibby? They declared her injury-free the day before the game, hyping up her return only to throw her right back on the injury list at the very last minute. That is not just poor medical management. That is a direct, calculated manipulation of the fans who spend their hard-earned money to travel, book hotels, and support this team. The Fever completely lost the trust of their core audience, and they have absolutely nobody to blame but themselves. But here is where this story goes from a social media controversy to a full-blown economic disaster. Let us leave the emotions aside and talk about the cold, hard business of professional sports, because the numbers do not lie.
it doesn't look like they're selling tickets for the upper deck. Caitlin Clark's first game against Los Angeles Sparks, her rookie year, they said a new Crypto.com arena, I believe packing 19,000 individuals in that building. 19,000 individuals in that building. And fast forward 2 years later, here we are. We are not selling the top row, the top sections anymore. Section 300s, not.
Let us look at the upcoming game in Los Angeles. This is Caitlin Clark. This is supposed to be a marquee primetime matchup. But look at the live seating chart for Crypto.com Arena. The entire 300 section, the massive upper deck, is completely grayed out. They are not even selling tickets for the top rows. The management looked at their internal financial forecasts. They looked at the actual depressing consumer demand, and they decided it was not even worth the operational cost of turning the lights on in the upper levels. They are literally tarping off entire sections to force the small crowd down lower, just so the arena does not look completely empty and embarrassing on national television.
Go to standard only, you'll notice that there's still a shit ton of seats available. 180, 130 bucks. I mean, these are cheap prices, folks. 100 bucks to sit in section 101. 188 to sit in section 110. Behind the basket at $55, $56, $76 behind the basket.
And if you think the lower bowl is sold out, think again. When you look at the standard ticket sales, there is a massive sea of blue dots. Thousands upon thousands of seats are still available. And the prices, they are absolutely plummeting. You can sit in section 101 right near the action for 100 bucks. You can sit right behind the basket for $55. A few years ago, during the peak of Clarkonomics, you would have to take out a second mortgage to get those seats when the fever came to town. Just weeks ago, they were charging nearly $900 for the worst seats in the house for the home opener. Now, on the road, the bottom has completely fallen out of the market. This is what we call the Stephanie White effect, but the financial ramifications are bleeding out far, far beyond the borders of Indiana.
I'm telling you, it's not just the Indiana Fever feeling the Stephanie White effect. It's going to be other owners across the league as well when they're asking themselves, why aren't we packing this out like we did a few years ago? Why are our merchandise sales down? Why are our concessions down? Why aren't we receiving this from that? Why aren't we receiving that from this? I saw Rudy's video the other day. Shout out to Rudy. Coming out of the podcast. Go subscribe. He went more in depth. Washington Mystics game. Tons of.
This is a massive economic warning sign for the entire league. Think about the monumental business story of the WNBA. We are talking about a league that has been aggressively chasing historic revenue growth, pushing expansion teams, funding a new collective bargaining agreement, and looking toward a monumental $900 million increase in media rights valuation. You do not secure a billion-dollar media rights bag when your absolute flagship franchise is actively alienating its incredibly loyal fan base and playing in half-empty arenas on the West Coast. Owners across the league are panicking. The front office in Atlanta is looking at a State Farm arena where there are more tickets available than tickets actually sold. The Washington Mystics are seeing massive, terrifying drops in attendance. When the Indiana Fever come to town, other WNBA teams rely on that massive influx of cash to balance their books for the year. It is a fragile economic ecosystem. If the fans refuse to show up because they feel manipulated by the Fever's management, it means dropping merchandise sales, plummeting concession revenues, and a massive, devastating hit to the league's overall bottom line. You simply cannot play games with your consumers. When you lose the trust of the fans, you lose the television ratings, and when you lose the ratings, that $900 million media rights dream turns into an absolute nightmare. Now, stepping back onto the court, we actually have a fascinating basketball matchup if the Fever actually let their star players play without invisible restrictions. The projected lineup of Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, Monique Billings, and Aaliyah Boston has incredible championship-level potential, but they have to execute. Sophie Cunningham, in particular, has to step up in a major way tonight. We need to see her getting out in fast break transition, catching those elite full-court passes from Clark, and knocking down open threes, rather than getting bullied and back down on the defensive end. The Los Angeles Sparks have a very long, tall, physical front court that will absolutely test Indiana's toughness in the paint. It is going to be a massive test on the hardwood. But make no mistake, the real test is not on the court tonight. The real test is in the front office. Can the Indiana Fever repair the devastating damage they have done to their own brand? Can they prove to the world that their players are actually healthy? Can they stop this financial bleeding before it permanently damages the league's value? The fans are speaking loudly with their wallets, and right now, their message is clear. We do not trust you. What do you guys think? Has the Fever management permanently ruined the trust of the fans, or can a few good games fix this financial disaster? Let me know your raw thoughts in the comments section below. Do not forget to hit the like button, subscribe to WNBA Pro for the most honest, hard-hitting analysis on the internet, and I will see you in the next one.